This is the process for handling a core bank. Only specific customers are set up to be core bank participating customers. Typically, they are national accounts who have a contract indicating that they not be charged for a core at the time of a purchase. However, we can invoice them at some future date if the core is not returned. So there are essentially three things that can be done with a core bank. The first is to sell a customer a part and not charge them for the core, essentially banking that core, indicating that they owe us one core. The second is to credit that customer or to remove that core that they owe us out of their bank, so no money changes hands. It's just a record that they have indeed returned the core. And the third is to invoice them for a banked core that they've owed us and never returned. So we'll walk through those steps. I've already put in a customer who is designated as a core bank customer and gone to the product details page. So there we put in a battery, any part that has a core. In this case, I'm going to sell 2 of them. And then I need to go over to the core column and select the core field within that line. That's going to bring up this core window. And because this particular customer participates as a core bank customer, this option is enabled for us. So I'm going to go ahead and hit F4 to bank this core. That means that the customer will not be charged for that core. And at this point, I can hit F2 to invoice the customer for these 2 batteries. This customer requires a PO, so I will put one in. And that invoice will print, and there is no charge for cores on that particular invoice. So now at a future time, that customer is going to return one of those 2 batteries to us. And in order to credit them back for that battery, even though we're not actually giving them a credit, we are removing that battery from the bank and saying they no longer owe us for that battery. We're going to go into credit notes, and we will enter that customer. And then we will hit F5, or old units, at the bottom, which is going to show us all of the outstanding old units that this customer has. I can click the bank status and make it say only the Bs, or only the banked parts, and hit F2 for display. And now I see the quantity of 2 of that battery that we just sold this customer. So we are going to credit them for one of these batteries. So I'm just going to go under quantity to credit, enter a 1, and then hit the F3 OK button. That is going to bring us back here to the credit request and indicate that they are being credited with 1 banked core with no dollar value. So I'll go ahead and say F2 to credit, and that will have removed that core that they returned from their bank, and they no longer owe us for that 1 core. Now remember, we sold them 2 cores originally, or 2 batteries originally, so 1 has been returned. They still owe us for 1. Let's assume that they never actually bring that one back, and we're going to invoice them for it. So there is a screen for core bank inquiry under inquiry screens, and that will allow us to take a look at the core bank for this customer. So I will enter the customer and say I'm only looking at the B for the banked parts, and hit F2 to display. And that's going to bring up the 2 batteries that we've sold and indicate that 1 has been credited, leaving 1 that can be invoiced. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 in here to indicate that we're going to invoice them for this core, and either click down here or click F8. I can type in a message here if need be, and this is going to generate an invoice for 1 battery core that was never returned, and now it's going to clear out the screen because that one has been invoiced. So that invoice can now go to the customer to hopefully either collect that core or collect the core charge. So that is the process for dealing with a bank core. And again, that's only for specific customers who have been set up as customers participating in a core bank.